You're muted.
Of course I'm muted. Good morning and
Good
happy
morning.
Monday. How are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm good. Has summer arrived out there yet?
For a couple days, and then today it's like a high of 68.
No, I don't know. What's going on? I don't know.
Yeah, it's
I
weird.
don't know. I don't know. It feels like we might be starting to have some summer here in Michigan. It's nice and warm this morning. The sun is out and they're here doing the lawn. So feel free feel free to say Nicole mute if you hear something. So
I'll let
anyway,
you
good
know.
morning, happy Monday. Welcome to Mindset Monday, where independent patient advocates like us get together to kickstart our week with positivity and inspiration. My name is Nicole Broadhurst, and I'm here with my co-host Kayla Thompson Riviere. Today we're focusing on perspective, empathy, compassion, and we have a really powerful quote to guide us through this new week of advocacy. What is that quote, Kayla?
So today's quote comes to us from the Dalai Lama, which I think everybody is at least somewhat familiar with. And it is compassion is the wish to see others free from suffering.
Yes. I had to mute for a second. Literally, the tractor went right under the window. I'm telling life. So, compassion is the wish to see others free from suffering. I think this is a great quote for us. Um, I think that one inherently, most of us come to advocacy or healthcare or whatever that is with some level of compassion, is kind of driving us into that world, right? I mean,
Some
I don't
level,
know
pretty
about
high
you, but
level typically.
yeah, I mean, right? I mean, it's pretty much the basis of why we started doing whatever it is that we're doing, I think. Um, and it's a pretty strong driving force.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's important for us to kind of talk about it and name it and honor it. And here comes the tractor again. So I'm going to mute Kayla. I want to hear what you have to say.
Of course, the one day that I don't have like a plethora of thoughts on the topic. I was reading the quote and I was like, I'm gonna let Nicole dive into her notes first and we can expound from uh, your lawn people conspiring against us.
Right, exactly. Okay, so the first thing that I had on my notes was really around how compassion really helps us develop that client trust that we need, in order to be able to help them. So typically, when clients come to us, they're really carrying a lot of fear, overwhelm, frustration, like all of those anxiety ridden emotions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, our ability to hold compassion for them really is, it's not just feeling sorry for them, right? It's really being deeply committed to seeing them move from suffering to stability. Like, we have
Yeah,
a
oh, that's a good way to
vested
put it. Yeah.
interest in that, right?
Yeah,
And so
and I
that's what I
think
kind of,
on that note, it's probably I don't know. Speaking from my experience, compassion is and empathy is almost like a second language. And sometimes it's so front and center for me that I kind of forget the power that it has for others, particularly in this work of advocacy. And so I think that it's important for us to remember how much of a superpower and how much of a gift that actually is to our clients. Because let's be honest, unfortunately, the healthcare system as it stands is not overflowing with compassion. And so, I don't know, for me, I tend to forget just how impactful just that piece of my work is for my clients until somebody says something about it and I'm like, oh yeah, this probably is a breath of fresh air, like somebody's actually listening to you. Wow, crazy.
right, right. It's so true. So I do want to take just a second and say, I think that anyone that's in healthcare has a certain level of compassion around patients and their experiences. The caveat here is that unfortunately inside the system, quote unquote, there's not a lot of time
Mm-hmm.
to actively demonstrate the compassion. And I think that's an important piece to talk about, right? It's not that it's lacking compassion, it's lacking the demonstration of compassion, which really we could dive into, which means there's a lack of compassion, right? Because it's all about
Well, at least that's the perceived experience for a lot of people. Not
yes,
saying that that's truly the way it is. I mean, what would you say? Probably a third to a half of advocates come from a clinical background.
right.
So,
Yeah,
all of us at one time were working in the system and had
right.
all of, it's not like speaking us as being the nurse who left the
Right.
bedside. It's not like we left healthcare and then grew a compassion leg one day. Like,
Right.
it was
Right.
always there. It just,
Yes.
it gets so
Lost.
stifled with the amount of do more with less.
Right.
And so
Right.
the end result for patients oftentimes is it feels like their providers don't care. And burnout is very real, very, very real,
Yes.
particularly in high pressure environments,
Sure.
like hospitals in general and ERs and stuff like that. You see a lot of things that really, I mean, I think everybody's heard the joke that like every nurse should write a book, but there's a lot of things in that experience that can make you question your faith in humanity.
Right.
And so, honestly, the next piece, kind of angle of this quote for me is when we are going about our work as advocates. And of course, I think the most natural way to think of compassion is for our clients directly. However, I find a lot of benefit in extending that compassion to those overburdened providers who are stuck inside that system, who, I don't know, 97% of them wouldn't be working in the capacity that they are if they felt that they had another way to do it better. Um, and I find there's a lot of power in approaching a situation from, I see the constraint that you're under. I understand some of these pressures, and I know we really both want the same thing here, which is what's best for this patient. It's kind of that concept of like you catch more flies with honey than vinegar.
Right. Yes, very much so. Very, very much so. And I think it's important, like I said, it's more, this compassion, this level of compassion is pretty much what moves. And I would extend what you said, Kayla, from not just clinicians, but from those of us that worked in healthcare in an administrative role, even. It really is that level of compassion that got stifled and lost in all of the regulations and the requirements of documentation and the reporting and all of the things inside of the system that drove me and a lot of others out to be able to do this work without those constraints. So I would say probably it's even higher than half. I would probably say half to three quarters of us came from inside the system. And that it is more than feeling that we're more than just problem solvers, right?
Hmm.
Because one piece of what we do is kind of solve the problem that patients experience, but we're also partners with them,
Mm-hmm.
partners in that journey to getting peace of mind and understanding what's happening and all of the things that go along outside of that. In addition, I think that this compassion that we have on our hearts when we come to this work really helps elevate our communication.
Mm-hmm.
It because this compassion drives us to listen first, speak second, right? So that we can
Mm-hmm.
best understand what's happening. And it also challenges us to hold space even when emotions run high, right? Because this is where things tend to go wonky is when the emotional level escalates and it deteriorates communication. And I think this is one of the biggest values that we can bring to patients and families in this environment of healthcare is to help keep a good communication, even when we're high in emotion, right? Like things are
Mhm.
misunderstood. And again, this is a soft skill, but a super important skill. And I think
Mhm.
that I love what you said earlier is that you tend to forget that that's kind of what you do because it's so natural, right? It's so intuitive to a lot of us that we don't always understand that it really is. Can you hear that?
Just a little bit.
Okay, okay. Um, that it really is a superpower. I mean, it is
Mhm.
the thing that we bring to the table in those moments of struggling for families and patients with their healthcare journey. Um, and it's beautiful. Right? And I don't know, like I don't even know, we have to figure out how to um, probably talk about that more and better. Um, Yeah. So anyway, I was just reading through the notes. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about in regards to that. It really helps us navigate some really intense conversations with providers and insurance companies. Speaking of which, I know you are in some
Mm.
really interesting conversations with providers and insurance companies. And I'm sure that it's your compassion that is driving you to keep making those calls because those are not fun.
Oh, no. No, they're not. And yeah, the situation that I'm dealing with that client currently. It's certainly, I don't know, testing my compassion is probably not the right phrase. But if I had any questions about why some patients end up feeling like the system is soulless, well, I don't anymore.
Mhm.
Because this particular client of mine has just been dropped and left for dead, basically, by people who just don't seem to care. I'll
Yeah,
be honest, it is difficult to find compassion for them in that situation.
yeah, it is. It's frustrating. I think that when you talk about burnout, there's a lot of burnout of really good people inside the healthcare system that leaves a lot of people inside that either don't have a ton of experience or don't have enough training or don't have enough, especially when we're talking about the administrative side. I'm not talking specifically, that's what I'm talking about. I don't want anybody to think that I don't think that clinicians are trained well. I do. But we get a lot of, oh gosh, there's so much on this level. We get a lot of people that are not, I will tell you this. There was a point in my work, and I still do this from time to time when I'm talking to somebody that I just feel like isn't getting the big picture of what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
I will say to them, how about I get the patient on the phone and you actually share that with the patient right here, right now. And the reason that I do that is because I want them to say what they just said to me to a
Mm-hmm.
patient, right? To the
Right.
patient. And a lot of times these conversations happen without the patient present. And if we can get the patient present, all of a sudden it changes some perspective on, at least at a minimum, how they deliver the message,
Mm-hmm.
um, which doesn't always work. But it is very frustrating, right? So anyway, I love this. I love this quote because I think compassion is what drives so much of what we're doing in this area. Okay, what else can we say about compassion? Oh, well, I actually put down here that I wanted to talk about. This is great. Compassion is wonderful when we talk about extending it not only to patients and to other folks in our world, but I think we would be remiss if we didn't also talk about how important it is to extend compassion to ourselves.
Hmm.
Because I don't know about you, but this is an area where I don't always do so great.
Yeah, I do have to
um,
remind myself that more than compassion for others.
yeah, because it's kind of hard. So building a practice, building a business really means that we have to give ourselves permission to grow imperfectly, right? And
Hmm.
pivot when necessary and build a business that reflects our unique gifts, our unique compassion. And so be nice to ourselves, extend the same
Hmm.
compassion that we would extend to others, and give ourselves time and, you know, time to reset. And this was really hard. It's really busy right now in my practice. And I have found that it's been very challenging to like literally take a full day off, like where I don't come into the office at all. It's so tempting to just a couple of hours, but um I didn't. Saturday I took the entire day off. I did not come in here at all. And it was work. Like extending that to myself was a lot of effort and a lot of like self-talk around it's okay. Like, you don't have to go in there and work on Saturday. You can have a life outside of the office. That's It's hard when there's lots of stuff to get done. Anyway, yes. Oh, I love that, Terry. I love that. Here, I put it, talk to yourself like you would talk to someone you love.
Hmm. Or like you say so often, be nice to my friend.
That's right. Be nice to my friend, please. Yes. Be nice to my friend. Yes. So, all right. Well, I am trying to think of other things. Anybody else? What does this quote drop in the chat? Some of the things that you feel or think around this particular quote. That compassion is the wish to see others free from suffering. I just feel like this is the core of our work. It's the core of what we do. It's the core of why we show up. Nicole, brag on Kayla. Well, of course I brag on Kayla. Is there something specific you want me to brag on Kayla? I feel like we brag on Kayla every week. So of course, I don't know. Anyway, of course, if you need, so she came to visit you in Ocean City. That's nice. I'm glad you guys get to hang out. That's fantastic.
Yeah, that was a great
Awesome.
conversation. Thank
Yay.
you.
Well, of course. Yeah. So that makes my heart happy. I love it when my advocate friends get to connect and share. And it's why we join. It's why we created the circle. It's why we have all of those great resources. Again, collaboration over competition wins every day of the week. So if you're an advocate and you're looking for a community that will support you, come join us. That's what we do. That's how we work.
Nicole, now I just need you to come visit me in Ocean City.
I know, right? I know. I've said I've got to get. Anyway, we're looking at that. So we'll see what we can do.
One day, I envision a
That's
future,
right.
one day where we'll have a Mindset Monday live streamed from the same place.
Oh, that would be awesome. Yes,
Yeah.
that would be so much fun. Let's see. Leah says that I also think compassion is the ability to see others suffering and not turn away, since some of
Mm.
our patients or clients may never be free of their suffering. That is so true, Leah. I love that. Um, you're right. It is so in the world that we have. I think that it's really easy for most folks to be like, oh, that sucks, and kind of like jump over it. And staying in the
Hmm.
hard part is really important. And that's really kind of again the driving force, of sitting with someone exactly where they are, even when it's a bad place, you know, and
But
being able to do that.
that's so true because even, I mean, outside of medical things, like if you've had a loss or some kind of grief, often people say things to try to make you feel better, and really
Right.
it can come off as like kind of dismissive in a sense, because it's like, my feelings are valid and I need the space to feel them and work through them. Like, you can't just get over something because it's inconvenient. And I think especially when it is centered around something like chronic illness, which I'm pretty sure is where Leah was going with this, where, there's kind of this expectation of maybe it'll get a little bit better than it is now, but it's never going to be gone. Like, there's a lot to unpack there. And I'd say probably most people are too uncomfortable sitting in that place with someone. They want to just yank them out of it. That's a really important perspective, Leah, because it requires a certain bit of strength and emotional fortitude and grit to just, okay, we're just gonna sit here with this, and I will be here with you for whatever feelings come up, and without the trying to change them.
Right. That is so hard. I think, honestly, if I'm honest with myself, I think I fall into that category of, I just want everybody to feel better. Like, what do I need to do to help people feel better? And you're right. Sometimes, there are moments where I'm like, okay, they just need to feel this, and that's okay. And I don't have to do anything other than help them navigate those feelings and move through this as best we can. Leah also talks about as empathetic people, it is sometimes difficult to take. Here, I'm going to show it because I can't read it. So as empathetic people, it's so difficult to take on the suffering with them and not absorb it. Oh my gosh, this is where we talk about boundaries, right? And how do we protect ourselves and not get lost in the emotion? Again, I think it's really important that we pay attention to this, because it really is our superpower. The ability to be with them in the emotion without acting on that emotion is what makes an independent professional advocate so valuable, right? Because we are, anyway, leave that there. That's what I think makes us so valuable. One of the things that makes us so valuable.
You mentioned boundaries a minute ago, and I think that is super important. And kind of two things come up for me in this area that I'll share. When you're sitting in that place and feeling the feelings with the client, at some point, the phone call ends, the visit ends, however it be. And there's a couple of things for me. Number one, I like to take a moment to reflect with gratitude on the things about my life that are different than what. So for instance, if it's a health thing, it often is a time for me to reflect about how grateful I am for the health that I have, and reaffirm that I need to be doing these things to keep that, taking care of my body, etc. And so I take something negative and intentionally turn that into a positive viewpoint. But then also the place of boundaries, it's got to stop in the car before you leave, or with the phone call. I actually have a separate work phone, physical separate work phone from my personal phone. That one is huge for me to kind of cut that disconnect. I can't be carrying the mental burdens of everything that's going on with all of my clients all the time. And those like little reminders that I get from my work phone, it tends to, then I start thinking about it again, and I think about the situation and how bad it is for them. Right. So that's another one for me where I've gotten, unless I have somebody who is in the hospital right now, and there's something that might come up, I try really hard to adhere to like a Monday to Friday 9 to 5 schedule with my work phone, and I'll put it in my purse in my mudroom And I might check on it periodically, but I don't keep it out in the kitchen, getting all the little messages or whatnot. So that's another finding ways to implement boundaries around what's your time and what's client time, I think helps with making sure that, because it's important that we do help carry some of that emotional load for our clients, but we have to be able to put it down too.
Yes, yes, yes. I love it. I love this conversation, and we're out of time. So I think what I want to talk about is what is our mindset challenge of the week? Um, Terry had some great stuff that she put in chat around how she ends her days to kind of unload some journaling prompts. So check those out. But my question is how are you applying this in your business or your life this week? Make sure that you drop it in the chat. Let us know if there's a place that you're struggling. Bring it to the community. We will help you carry that and help you learn to offload it appropriately, right? And help you draw some boundaries around that. I think that this is an area we can all use reinforcement from time to time to remember and to put those things into better perspective. Nothing worse than getting a ding on your phone from a client outside of working hours and trying to decide, is this an emergency? Do I have to answer this? Right. So putting some kind of guardrails around that prior is super helpful. Kaylee uses a separate phone so she can like literally turn that phone off when she is not available. Anyway, I love this. I love this. So any final challenges for the week from you, Kayla?
Sounds like we are all good with compassion for others. So I would challenge each and every one of you to find an area, a time, something that you can do for yourself this week to reflect that back inwards and practice a little self-compassion.
Love it. I love it. Well, everybody go have a great week. I'm shameless plug. If you're thinking about the strategic planning workshop, we can help you put some boundaries. That can be a goal for your third quarter. If you need help putting some boundaries around your work, come to the workshop and we will be happy to help you figure that out so that you can build it into your Q3 goals. All right, guys, have a great week. We'll see you on Wednesday. We'll be back here next Monday to talk about more mindset. Have a great week.